Hey, it's Austin here, and I'm entering Jeff Kempin's 300 subs contest. He's an awesome dude who has a pretty similar taste in music to me, listens to a lot of classic rock, some blues, jazz, and all that jazz. So go check him out because he is awesome. For his 300 subscriber contest, he asked 3 questions. What is your favorite debut album, hardest album you had trouble getting, and your favorite album not in your specific genre? So I'm going to go through those right now. I decided to pick my favorite debut album from bands that actually had several albums, or a bunch of albums in one case, because I didn't think it was necessarily fair to pick something like Layla by Derek and the Dominoes, which is my favorite album of all time, but that's really their only album, or their only studio album, so I didn't think that was necessarily fair. So I have Chicago Transit Authority, or Chicago 1, or CTA 1, whatever you want to call it. And this album, front to back, is pure dynamite, especially the first LP, which has Introduction, Does Anybody Really Know What Time It Is, Beginnings, Question 67 and 68, and Listen, and Poem 58 on it. Yeah. This album is just an absolute masterpiece. Terry Kath is on fire. And yeah, I absolutely love this guitar. I absolutely love this album. I love his guitar. Alright, the second question is hardest album I had trouble getting. Okay. There's a little backstory with this one. With most of my albums, I have not had any trouble getting them necessarily. I've had albums in my Discogs want list, but the same albums that were there a year ago are pretty much there today. And if I find them on eBay or something, or in person, then I get it, and I never really have a whole lot of trouble. But several months ago, there was a pre-order available for this signed box set from a very well-known band, and I had to have it. I was willing to pay whatever it would take. And it was a pretty penny. So I coughed up the dough and pre-ordered it, and then waited a couple months, and they said they'd ship out like early December. Okay, sweet. Waited a while, very impatiently, till early December rolls around and they started sending out the other copies of the album, not the box sets though. So I have a lot of money invested in this album, so I was kind of scared. So I emailed them, and they said, you know, we're waiting to get them signed, and then we're going to mail them out. Should be in a couple weeks. So I wait impatiently for a couple weeks to go by, and then I see other people starting to get their box sets, and then I start getting scared. So I message again, and they're really nice, and I'm telling them, you know, I hate to be that guy, but I just want to make sure that I'm still in, like, y'all still have my pre-order and everything. Well, they did, and they finally sent it out. I got shipping confirmation. I was stoked. Could not wait to get my hands on this. Now, this was shipping from outside of London, and I get an email about a week later saying that it reached its destination in, like, Hertfordshire or somewhere out in England, and I live in Houston, Texas. So, not exactly on the mark. And I was horrified, absolutely petrified. So I'm like calling UPS, I'm trying to contact these people, but it's on like a Saturday and they're not there, and it was just a nightmare. Well, what ended up happening is the company that shipped it ended up accidentally switching the shipping labels, so it thought that it was coming from me in Houston to them outside of London. So they went to the post office, dropped it off, it lingered there for a bit, and then mailed it back to themselves on accident. I finally ended up getting it, and it was the Yardbirds 68 signed deluxe box set. The most I've ever spent on an album and the biggest nightmare I've ever had with shipping. The third question was your favorite album not in your specific genre. I like to think that I have a pretty broad palette. I mean, I listen to everything from like 30s and 40s vocal music like the Ink Spots and Ella Fitzgerald to blues music like Howlin' Wolf, Muddy Waters, Albert King, to present day psychedelic rock like the Black Angels and stuff. But I am also a massive fan of hip hop, which if you watch the channel you might not really know, but there's one album I talk a lot about, and it is Graduation by Kanye West. I know he's not for everybody, especially with his recent controversy, but this album came out in 2007 when I was in middle school, and it really struck a chord with me. And this is kind of what got me into paying more attention to music. It's got Good Morning, Champion, Stronger, Good Life, Can't Tell Me Nothing, Flashing Lights, Homecoming, and some bonus tracks, because this is actually a bootleg, because this was never released on vinyl officially. So I had to settle for a bootleg, but the audio quality's fine, and yeah, something that people would not know I'm really into, because I talk a lot about Howlin' Wolf and the Yardbirds and stuff, is actually Kanye West. Alright, well that was my entry to Jeff Kempin's 300 subs contest. Go check him out at Jeff Kempin, Kempin. He's an awesome dude, likes classic rock, likes blues, likes jazz, and yeah, good luck digging out there.